The mortician locked me in her studio. What she did next left me shaking. The creak of that heavy oak door echoed like a final breath in my chest, sealing me inside her world of shadows and silk-lined secrets. My name is Elena Vasquez, 34, a features writer for the Chicago Tribune, scraping by on stories that barely scratch the surface of the living, let alone the dead. And she, Leora Hale, 36, the mortician whose steady hands had touched more souls in repose than I'd ever interviewed, had just turned the key with a click that felt like fate's cruel punchline. "Stay," she'd whispered earlier that humid July evening in her studio apartment above the Hale and Sons funeral parlor in rural Illinois, her voice a velvet rasp against my ear as we tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender and faint formaldehyde. But now, locked in her private embalming room at dawn, heart hammering like a trapped bird, I realized this wasn't passion's playful cage. This was something darker, a ritual born of grief she couldn't bury, and I was the living canvas she needed to paint her pain alive again. The air hung thick, laced with the metallic tang of preserved flesh and the earthy whisper of cooling earth from the open window. My fingers trembled on the cold brass knob, slick with condensation from the night storm that had rolled in like an uninvited mourner. Outside, the first light of an Illinois sunrise bled through the frosted glass, painting the tiled floor in watery gold stripes that mocked my captivity. Leora's studio wasn't the sterile morgue I'd imagined from my outsider's gaze. It was her sanctuary, walls lined with mahogany shelves groaning under jars of amber fluids, sketches of serene faces she'd coaxed from the departed, and a worn leather chaise where she'd confessed her secrets over stolen glasses of bourbon 2 weeks ago. That's when it started, me chasing a human interest piece on women who work the night shift, her answering my ad in the local paper with eyes like polished obsidian, pulling me into interviews that blurred into midnight drives along cornfield-lined backroads, her hand brushing mine on the gearshift, sending sparks up my arm that tasted like forbidden fruit. I rattled the door again, the sound swallowed by the hum of the ancient refrigerator humming in the corner, guarding vials of her alchemical trade. "Leora." My voice cracked, raw from the sobs I'd stifled during our last embrace upstairs. She'd kissed me then, fierce and desperate, her lips tasting of salt from tears she wouldn't name, murmuring about a sister lost to cancer 5 years back, how the dead clung to her like ghosts in the ether. I'd held her, my own scars from a string of heartbreaks in the city throbbing in sympathy, my ex-fiancé's betrayal still a bruise under my ribs. But this? Locking me in as the sun clawed its way up, her note slipped under the door in looping script. "Trust me, Elena. Let me show you what comes after the end." My pulse thrummed in my ears, a frantic drumbeat syncing with the distant coo of mourning doves outside, their calls like sighs from the veil. Footsteps, soft, deliberate, padded from the adjoining room. The door to the inner sanctum swung open on silent hinges, and there she was, framed in the threshold like a specter stepping from fog. Leora, in a simple white shift that clung to her curves like a second skin, hair the color of midnight spilling loose over shoulders dusted with freckles from summers long past. Her profession etched in the graceful poise of her hands, nails short and unadorned, veins tracing blue rivers from years of precise incisions. 36 going on timeless, her face a map of quiet sorrows, high cheekbones shadowed by the weight of unspoken elegies, full lips parted as if tasting the air for my fear. "Elena," she breathed, the word a caress that twisted my gut with equal parts terror and longing. Her eyes, those deep wells, locked on mine, flickering with a hunger that wasn't just desire. It was reclamation. I backed against the steel prep table, its edge biting into my hips through my jeans, the chill seeping like regret. "What the hell is this, Leora? Let me out. Now." My words tumbled out, laced with the tremor of a woman who'd faced down editors and deadlines, but never this. Never the raw unraveling of someone I was falling for, hard and heedless. She stepped closer, the floor cool under her bare feet, each pat a whisper that raised gooseflesh on my arms. The scent of her, jasmine soap mingled with the faint, clean bite of ethanol, wrapped around me, pulling me under like quicksand. "You wanted the story," she said, voice low, threaded with a Midwestern lilt softened by grief's gravel. "The one behind the headlines. The mortician who sees what no one else does." Her fingers grazed my cheek, cool as marble yet igniting fire, tracing the line of my jaw where stubble from a forgotten shave rasped softly. I swallowed, throat dry as autumn leaves, the memory of our first touch flooding back. Her guiding my hand to the curve of her waist in that dimly lit parlor library, books on anatomy and poetry stacked like sentinels, her breath hitching as I leaned in. We'd been circling each other since late-night calls where her voice cracked on tales of the departed, my replies weaving in fragments of my own loneliness, the city lights that never warmed the soul. Last night, after a bottle of red shared on her threadbare rug, she'd pulled me to her bed, our bodies a tangle of size and skin, her mouth mapping mine with a reverence that made me ache. But dawn brought this lock, this threshold crossed into madness. "This isn't a story," I whispered, my hand rising unbidden to cup hers, our palms pressing, pulses sinking in a betraying rhythm. "This is you breaking." She smiled then, a fragile curve that didn't reach her eyes, stepping so close her warmth bled into me, chasing the room's chill. The air between us hummed, charged like the moment before thunder, and I caught the faint tremor in her exhale, a sigh that carried the weight of coffins lowered into rain-soaked earth. "Maybe," she murmured, thumb brushing my lower lip, sending a shiver straight to my core. "Or maybe it's mending. Stay with me, Elena." Through the veil. Her other hand slipped to my waist, fingers splaying possessive, and in that touch I felt the pull, the magnetic grief that bound her to the dead, now reaching for the living for me. My resolve cracked, a fissure widening with each heartbeat, as she leaned in, her lips hovering a breath from mine, the world narrowing to the promise of what she'd do next. But doubt clawed up my spine, cold as the slab behind me. What if this was her unraveling me, thread by thread, until I was as still as the form she tended? The doves cooed again, insistent, and outside, the sun climbed higher, indifferent to the cage we'd built from whispers and wants. I could scream, pound the walls until the old building groaned its secrets. Or I could surrender, let her lead me into the ritual she craved, our affections twisting into something profound, perilous. Her breath ghosted my skin, warm and inviting, and in that suspended heartbeat, I whispered, "Show me." The word hung, heavy as incense, and her eyes lit with a fire that shook me to my bones. Her lips claimed mine then, not gentle this time but a storm. Teeth grazing, tongue delving with the urgency of someone starving for light. I gasped into her, hands fisting the thin fabric of her shift, the material whispering against my knuckles like a confessor's hush. The kiss deepened, pulling moans from us both, low and guttural, echoing off the tiles like echoes from a crypt. She pressed me back against the table, its edge digging in, a sharp reminder of the line we towed. Her hands roamed, mapping the dip of my collarbone, the swell of my breasts through my shirt, thumbs circling nipples that hardened under her touch, sending jolts that pooled hot between my thighs. "God, Elena," she groaned against my neck, teeth nipping the pulse there, drawing a whimper that tasted of surrender. The room spun, scents blending, her skin salt, the faint floral of her hair, the underlying sterility that should have repelled but only heightened the thrill. I arched into her, legs parting instinctively as she slotted between them, her thigh pressing firm against my core, friction sparking through denim. My fingers tangled in her hair, tugging just enough to elicit a hiss from her lips, her body shuddering in response. We were a frenzy now, breaths ragged, the air thick with the musk of arousal cutting through the clinical chill. She hiked my shirt up, mouth trailing fire down my sternum, tongue flicking over skin that pebbled in the cool draft from the vent overhead. A sigh escaped me, long and shuddering, as her hand slipped lower, cupping me through fabric, palm grinding slow circles that made stars burst behind my eyelids. "Leora, please," I begged, voice breaking on the edge of a sob, the plea laced with fear and fire. She pulled back just enough to meet my gaze, her own wild, pupils blown dark as the void she danced with daily. "You feel it, don't you? The edge where life bleeds into forever." Her words were an incantation, fingers deft as they worked my button-free zipper, rasping like a zipper on a body bag. Too vivid, too real. I nodded, throat tight, the vulnerability crashing over me like a wave. This wasn't just sex, it was exorcism, her grief pouring into me, mingling with my own hidden fractures. The mother who'd left when I was 12, the lovers who'd ghosted like smoke. Her hand delved inside, fingers finding slick heat, stroking with a precision born of her craft, each glide building pressure that coiled tight in my belly. The world narrowed to sensations, the wet slide of her touch, the hitch in her breath as she watched my face contort, the distant rumble of a truck on the gravel drive outside pulling coffins to their rest. I bucked against her, chasing the crest, her name a chant on my lips, Leora, oh God, until release shattered me, waves crashing in silent screams, body quaking as she held me through it, murmuring endearments in a voice cracked by her own unshed tears. She withdrew slowly, bringing her fingers to her mouth, tasting me with a reverence that twisted something deep inside. Then softer she kissed my forehead, the gesture maternal, loverly, ghostly. But as the aftershocks faded, reality seeped back. The locked door, the jars of eyes staring blindly from shelves, the note crumpled at my feet. Why? I whispered, voice hoarse, pulling her close despite the tremor in my limbs. She collapsed against me, weight at anchor, her sob muffled in my shoulder. Because I can't lose you too. Not to the living world that takes and leaves echoes. Her confession spilled then in halting breaths. How her sister's death had hollowed her, each body she prepared a mirror to that loss. How meeting me, vibrant, probing Elena, had cracked the seal, flooding her with terror of attachment. Locking me in was her desperate bid to bind us, to weave our souls before grief could sever. Tears stung my eyes, hot tracks down my cheeks, mingling with the sweat on her skin. I held her tighter, the chaise beckoning like a confessional, and we sank onto it, limbs entwined, the room's chill forgotten in our shared warmth. Dawn's light strengthened, gilding the edges of her sketches, faces serene in repose, a gallery of stolen peace. I'm not going anywhere, I murmured, fingers tracing lazy patterns on her back, feeling the knobs of her spine like rosary beads. But you have to let me in, Leora. All the way. No more locks. She nodded against my chest, a sigh rippling through her, deep and releasing like air from a punctured lung. Hours blurred as we talked, voices low over lukewarm coffee from a hidden thermos, steam curling like spirits rising. She shared stories of the departed, a farmer whose laugh she'd imagined echoing in his final grin, a child whose tiny hand she'd folded with prayers unspoken. I countered with my own ghosts. The city beats that left me hollow. The ink stains on my fingers from words that never healed. Laughter crept in, tentative, when she teased my city girl aversion to corn mazes, her Midwestern drawl wrapping around the words like home. By noon, the sun high and unforgiving, she rose, key glinting in her palm like absolution. Together? She asked, hand extended. I took it, standing on legs still shaky from more than release, our fingers lacing as she unlocked the door. The click echoed freer this time, a promise rather than prison. Stepping into the light, the parlor's foyer greeted us. Polished pews empty, flowers wilting in vases from yesterday's service, the air fresh with possibility. But as we paused, her gaze caught mine intense and she pulled me into the alcove shadows, kissing me slow, deliberate, a seal on our fragile pact. What now? I breathed, forehead to hers, heart sinking in the quiet. She smiled, genuine this time, light breaking through. We write it. Your story, our truth. And in that moment, shaking no longer from fear but from the quake of beginnings, I knew we'd crossed not just a threshold, but into resurrection. Weeks unfurled like the pages of a well-worn journal, each day a new entry in the ledger of us. Leora's studio, once a vault of solitude, became our haven, doors unlocked, windows cracked to let in the rustle of oak leaves, and the distant hum of harvest combines. I'd commute from the city on weekends, my beat-up Honda groaning up I-55 like an old friend reluctant to part, trunk stuffed with notebooks and takeout from the best Thai spot in Chi-town, a peace offering against her stubborn adherence to pot roast. Mornings found us tangled in her narrow bed, sunlight slanting through lace curtains that smelled of starch and secrets, her head on my chest, fingers tracing the tattoo on my ribcage, a faded quill pen inked in a haze of post-breakup rebellion. Tell me about her, she'd murmur, voice sleepy thick, referring to my ex with the gentleness of someone who'd buried too many regrets. I'd sigh, the sound rumbling through me, stirring her hair like wind through wheat. The scent of her lavender lotion and the faint, clean echo of her work grounded me, made the words flow easier. She was fire, Leora. All flash and no hearth. Left me for a producer with a corner office and a comb-over. My laugh was bitter, tasting of stale coffee, but her hand on my hip, thumb circling slow, soothed the sting. Your hearth, I'd add, turning to kiss her temple, salt of her skin on my lips. She'd hum, a low vibration that sent warmth pooling low, and we'd lose ourselves again. Slow this time, exploratory, her mouth charting paths down my body with the patience of her profession, drawing out gasps that fogged the mirror across the room. But shadows lingered, tendrils of her past curling in unexpected moments. One crisp October afternoon, as amber leaves carpeted the gravel lot, I arrived early, key she'd pressed into my palm, weeks back jangling like a talisman. The parlor was quiet, save for the tick of a grandfather clock in the foyer, its pendulum swinging like a heartbeat measured in eternities. I called her name, voice echoing off polished wood paneling that gleamed under crystal chandeliers, but only silence answered, heavy as velvet drapes. Pushing into the back, past viewing rooms with their plush chairs arranged in solemn semicircles, I found her in the prep room, not our locked nightmare, but the larger one where families said goodbyes. She stood over a form draped in white, mid-40s man with laugh lines etched deep, her hands gloved in latex that whispered as she adjusted a tie, crimson silk against pale collar. The air hummed with the low buzz of fluorescent lights, undercut by the sharp tang of formalin that always caught in my throat like swallowed glass. Elena, she said without looking up, voice steady but threaded with strain like a wire pulled taut. I hovered in the doorway, heart twisting at the sight, her in scrubs, hair pinned back severe, the grace of her movements a ballet of farewell. I didn't mean to. Stay, she cut in, gentle but firm, echoing that fateful dawn. She peeled off the gloves with a snap that made me flinch, tossing them into a bin that rustled like dry leaves. Turning, her eyes met mine, weary but warm, the obsidian softened by something like relief. It's okay. He's Mr. Harlan from down the road, heart gave out mid-harvest. Family's coming at dusk. She crossed to me, hands still cool from her task, cupping my face as if I were the fragile one. The kiss was brief, tasting of mint gum she'd chewed to mask the chemicals, but it anchored me, pulling me from the edge of voyeur's guilt. We retreated upstairs to her apartment, the stairs creaking under our weight like old bones settling. In the kitchen, sunlight poured through gingham curtains, gilding the formica counters scarred from years of solitary suppers. She brewed tea, chamomile steaming in mugs chipped at the rims, while I unpacked falafel wraps, the spicy aroma clashing delightfully with the herbal steam. We ate at the scarred oak table, knees brushing under it, her foot hooking mine in absent affection. Does it ever get easier? I asked, voice soft, unwrapping the foil with a crinkle that seemed too loud in the hush. She sipped, steam curling like question marks, eyes distant on the window where a squirrel chattered at the feeder. No, but it gets familiar, like an old scar that itches before rain. Her laugh was short, self-deprecating, fingers drumming the mug's handle, tap tap tap, a Morse code of unrest. I reached across, covering her hand, feeling the faint callus on her palm from scalpel grips. Then let me be your balm, I said, half joking, but the words landed heavy, sincere. She turned her palm up, lacing our fingers, thumb stroking my knuckle in slow arcs that echoed deeper intimacies. That night, after a dinner of venison stew she'd simmered slow, gamey rich, carrot soft as size, we curled on the couch, a threadbare sectional sagging under us like a shared burden. The TV flickered black and white classics, Bogart's gravel voice narrating betrayals in shadowed alleys. But our attention wandered. Her head in my lap, I combed fingers through her hair, strands silky despite the day's toil, inhaling the shampoo's citrus bite. Remember the first time you let me watch? I murmured, recalling that tentative evening 2 months back, her demonstrating a simple closure on a mannequin, hands steady as she explained sutures like love knots. She shifted, propping on an elbow, gaze piercing. You didn't run. A pause, breath held, then release. A sigh that feathered my thigh. Most do in their heads. I leaned down, kissing the corner of her mouth, tasting the wine we'd shared tart on her tongue. I'm not most. The words ignited us, her rising to straddle my hips. Wait a welcome press. Hands framing my face as she kissed me deep, exploratory. Tongues tangling with the languor of lovers who knew time's fragility. Fabric whispered as shirts lifted, skin meeting skin. Her breasts full and soft against mine. Nipples pebbling in the room's draft from the cracked window, carrying cricket songs like applause. I trailed lips down her neck, sucking gently at the hollow of her throat where pulse fluttered wild, her moan a low keen that vibrated through me. Hands roamed, mine gripping her hips, guiding her grind against me, friction building heat through our jeans, hers unbuttoning my blouse with surgeon's precision, exposing lace that she peeled away, mouth latching hot and wet. Sparks shot, arching my back, fingers digging into her shoulders as pleasure coiled tight. Elena, she gasped, voice breaking, vulnerability cracking her poise. I flipped us, pinning her beneath, shedding clothes in a rustle of denim and cotton. Bare now, bodies slick with sweat that gleamed in the TV's blue glow. The couch creaked protest as I kissed lower, tongue circling her navel, dipping to taste the salt trail down her abdomen, her thighs parting with a hitch of breath. She was exquisite, wet, wanting, scent musky and intoxicating as I delved, lips and tongue worshipping, her hips bucking in rhythm to my strokes. Curses spilled from her, Midwestern primness forgotten. Fuck yes there. Hands fisting my hair, pulling just enough to sting. Her climax built like a gathering storm, body tensing, then shattering with a cry that echoed off walls papered in faded florals, waves rippling as she trembled, me holding her through, kissing the quiver from her skin. Panting, she drew me up, our mouths meeting in a salty seal, bodies aligning slick. We moved together, slow grinds escalating to urgent thrusts, friction igniting until release claimed us both. Mine a gasp against her shoulder, hers a shuddering sob into my hair. We lay spent, limbs tangled, breath sinking in the afterglow, the film's credits rolling unnoticed. Stay the night, she whispered, not a question, fingers tracing my spine. I nodded, burrowing closer, the weight of her arm a vow. But dawn brought the parlor's pull, her slipping from bed with a kiss to my forehead, soft as snowfall. I watched her dress, practical layers over grace, heart aching with the normalcy of it, the love blooming fierce amid the macabre. As she descended, I lingered, sheets cool where she'd been, the faint imprint of her body a ghost I traced with fingertips. Downstairs, the prep room called her, but today I followed, not as intruder but partner, handing tools, listening to her hum and old hymn under breath, the dead between us no longer barrier but bridge. Yet, as winter loomed, whispers stirred in town, folks eyeing my car parked overnight, murmurs at the diner about the journalist and the widow hail. Leora's ex, a rough-hewn mechanic named Ray who'd left her for brighter lights years back, rolled into town on rumors, his truck rumbling like thunder on the horizon. I felt it then, the shadow lengthening, our fragile idol teetering on the edge of unraveling. November's chill seeped through the cracks like uninvited doubt, frosting the windows of the apartment with lace patterns that mimicked the fragility of our mornings. I'd taken to staying midweek now, filing stories remotely from Leora's desk. A scarred antique piled with my laptop and her ledgers, the scent of aged paper mingling with my vanilla candle to ward off the formaldehyde's ghost. We'd fall into rhythms, her rising pre-dawn for services, me stirring to the clink of her thermos, stealing kisses in the kitchen's yellow light, her lips cold from the fridge's breath. Be safe, I'd murmur, hand lingering on her cheek, feeling the faint rasp of unshaven skin she'd skipped in haste. Her smile, quick and shadowed, would press into my palm before she vanished downstairs, leaving me to the coffee's bitter warmth and the blank screen demanding words. One gray Tuesday, as sleet tapped the panes like impatient fingers, my editor's email pinged sharp, insistent. Vasquez hail piece dragging. Need edge. Personal angle. I stared at the cursor's blink, heart sinking like lead in water. The story, our story, had started as fluff, but now it was veins and ventricles, pulsing with truths too raw for print. Leora found me there at dusk, shoulders hunched, screen glowing accusatory. Rough day? She asked, shedding coat with a rustle, bringing the crisp bite of pine from the lot. I pulled her onto my lap, chair creaking, burying face in her neck where pulse thrummed steady. Just words failing me. I sighed, the exhale stirring her hair, carrying my frustration like smoke. She twisted, straddling me, hands framing my face with that mortician's care, gentle assessing. Then don't use them. Her kiss silenced debate, slow burn escalating as tongues met, tasting of her mint and my doubt. Fingers worked buttons, cool air kissing exposed skin. Her shift hiking to reveal thighs I nipped, drawing a gasp that fogged between us. The desk rattled as I stood, lifting her onto it, papers scattering like fallen leaves. Ledgers thumping soft, pens rolling with tiny clatters. She arched, guiding my hand between wet heat welcoming, my strokes eliciting moans that built like crescendo in empty chapel. Elena! Harder! She breathed, nails scoring my back through shirt, the sting sharpening pleasure. I obliged, thumb circling her peak while fingers delved deep, rhythm syncing with her hips rock, the chair's arm digging into my side a grounding ache. Her release came fierce, body clenching. Cry muffled in my shoulder as shudders racked her, leaving us both slick and spent. We laughed after, breathless, her forehead to mine, noses brushing in Eskimo innocence. Better than words, she quipped, voice husky, and I nodded, pulling her close, the desk's edge bruising thighs we'd ignore. But words had a way of haunting, and Ray's shadow loomed larger. I'd caught glimpses, his truck parked at the feed store, broad shoulders hunched over counter, locals clapping his back with rough affection. Leora tensed at mentions, her laugh forced when I probed, changing subject to the upcoming Thanksgiving service for old Mrs. Whitaker, whose quilt she'd folded with care. He was, before, she'd say, evasive, stirring soup that steamed with time's earthiness. I let it lie, but jealousy gnawed, a low simmer in my gut, visions of his hands on her. Calloused unlike mine, stoking fires I doused with extra touches, kisses that lingered possessive. The confrontation brewed on a Friday eve, wind howling gales that rattled shutters like angry spirits. I'd driven up through flurries, wipers slapping rhythm, radio crooning Patsy Cline's ache. Arriving, lights blazed in the parlor, unusual for off hours, and voices drifted. Male rumble, Leora's soft rebuttal. Heart pounding, I slipped inside door. Coat shedding snow and wet plops on the mat. The foyer loomed, chandeliers casting fractured light on velvet ropes, and there they stood by the guest book. Ray, all flannel and stubble, hand on her arm. Leora, rigid eyes flashing storm. Elena, she said, spotting me, voice a wire snap. Ray turned, gaze appraising, blue eyes sharp under brow, jaw set like carved oak. This the city gal? His drawl dripped skepticism, Midwestern blunt, hand dropping but stance wide, claiming space. I stepped forward, chin lifted, the chill from outside clinging to my boots squeak on tile. And you're the ghost from Christmas past. The quip landed flat, tension thickening air like fog. Leora extricated, moving to my side, fingers brushing mine. A secret anchor. Ray's just passing through. Family business. He snorted, breath visible in the draft, scent of motor oil and tobacco wafting. Business like reminding you of roots, Lee. Before you went all goth goddess on the dead. His laugh barked, but eyes lingered on her, hungry under the jibe. My hackles rose, fist clenching in pocket, the sleets patter outside mocking my impotence. Roots grow where they're planted. I shot, voice steady despite pulse's thunder. Some folks dig 'em up for sport. Ray's gaze shifted, weighing, then he shrugged, broad shoulders rolling like earth movers. Feisty. Suits you, Lee. He clapped her shoulder, too familiar, before striding out, door banging shut with wind's howl, leaving silence that echoed. Leora sagged against the podium, exhale ragged, hand to mouth as if tasting bile. I'm sorry, she whispered, eyes glistening under chandelier's gleam. I pulled her into alcove shadows, arms wrapping tight, her body melting into mine with a sob that wrenched me. He doesn't get to touch you, I murmured, lips to her temple, inhaling wool and woman. Not anymore. Upstairs we shed the chill, coats flung, boots thudding to floorboards, in a frenzy of need. She pushed me to the wall, mouth devouring, hands yanking my sweater up, nails raking ribs in urgent claim. Mine, she growled, rare ferocity, and I yielded, legs wrapping her waist as she lifted, carrying to bed with steps that jarred breath from lungs. We crashed down, mattress groaning, her weight pinning delicious, grinding against me through layers. Jeans rasped open, fingers plunging without prelude. Hers into me, mine into her. Mutual invasion, slick and savage, moans mingling in harmony of hurt and heel. Climaxes chase tandem, bodies convulsing in sync, cries peaking sharp before dissolving to whimpers, sweat-slick skin cooling in the draft. We clung after, breaths heaving, her head on my breast, listening to hearts gallop slow. He left because I chose this life, she confessed, voice small against my skin. Said it creeped him, the dead always between us. I stroked her back, vertebrae like piano keys under touch. I'm not him. The dead aren't rivals, they're teachers. She lifted, eyes searching mine, vulnerability raw as peeled heart. Promise. The word trembled and I kissed it away, sealing with tongue's vow. Winter deepened, holidays looming like laden boughs. Town buzzed, Thanksgiving pots simmering turkey's savor, strings of lights twinkling defiant against dark. We hosted a quiet feast at her place. Turkey sheep brine tender, cranberry relish tart on tongue, candlelight dancing on faces. Midway her phone buzzed. Ray again, voice tinny through speaker as she answered wary. Just checking in, Lee. Ma's asking after you. Lie thick as gravy, but she softened, Midwestern duty binding. I watched, fork paused, jealousy a cold knot, but swallowed it with wine's warmth, toasting instead to new graves and fresh starts. That night, sated on pie's cinnamon spice, we made love by firelight, slow, reverent, her tongue tracing runes on my belly, drawing sighs like smoke up chimney. But as embers died, Ray's call lingered, a specter at the feast, foreshadowing the storm he'd unleash. December's grip tightened, blanketing the fields in white veils that muffled the world's clamor, turning the drive to Leora's a pilgrimage through silence broken only by tires' crunch on salted roads. I'd sublet my Chicago walk-up, the city's siren wail fading to a memory, trading skyline for silo silhouettes that loomed benevolent under moon's glow. Our life wove tighter, mornings with her coffee ritual, black and scalding in mugs painted with faded roses, evenings where I'd read drafts aloud, her head in lap, critique soft as her fingers massaging calves knotted from stairs. Intimacy bloomed in stolen moments, her cornering me in the linen closet, amid sheets scented of starch, mouth hot on neck as hands hiked skirt, fingers teasing until knees buckled, release a muffled keen against linen stacks. Yet Ray's orbit tighten, gravitational pull inexorable. He'd taken a gig at the auto shop, truck parked brazen in the diner's lot, where locals spun yarns over pie slices flaky with butter. Whispers reached me at the post office, stamps sticking to tongue as clerks' eyes darted. Heard Ray sniffing round hail again. Poor girl's got her hands full with the stiffs. I smiled tight, mailing queries to editors hungry for holiday fluff, but inside acid-churned visions of his flannel-clad arm, round her waist fueling nightmares where I arrived to empty bed. Her note. Roots call louder. The breaking point cracked on Christmas Eve, snow swirling thick as secrets outside the parlor's stained glass, casting ruby and emerald fractals on snow-dusted pews. I'd planned surprise. A tree felled from the woodlet, boughs heavy with pine's resin bite, strung with lights pilfered from attic boxes yellowed with age. Leora arrived late from a vigil, cheeks flushed from cold, scrubs traded for wool skirt that swished as she entered, eyes widening at the glow. Elena! Awe softened her voice, hands clasping mine, pulling into kiss that tasted of peppermint she'd snuck from a family's wreath. We decorated slow, ornaments tinkling like bells, her stories spilling, of childhood Christmases with sister stringing popcorn chains that sagged under weight, laughter echoing till dawn. But midway door chimes tinkled, insistent, wind-whipped, and Ray stomped in, shedding snow in clumps, bearing gifts wrapped clumsy in newsprint. Figured you'd need cheer, Lee, he rumbled, eyes skipping over me like frost on pane, thrusting a box at her. Mittens knit rough, scent of lanolin strong. Tension crackled, air thick as fruitcake, Leora's shoulders stiffening under his gaze. Ray, this is kind. But Elena and I. He cut in, voice rising like storm surge. Her? The inkslinger who'll bolt when snow melts? I know you, Lee. Need solid, not stories. Words ignited tinder, my retort sharp as icicle. Solid like ditching her for bar lights? His face darkened, jaw clenching audible over wind's moan. Fist balling paper crinkle. Leora stepped between, voice whip crack. Enough. Outre. Now. He lingered, eyes pleading under anger. Then deflated. Door slamming echo that rattled baubles. Silence fell, heavy as fallen bough, her back to us, shoulders quaking silent. I reached, tentative, arms encircling waist, chin to shoulder. Hey! I whispered, breath warm on cold nape. She turned, tears tracking salt paths, burying face in my neck with sob that wrenched chest. He knows my fractures, she choked, words muffled in wool. Pokes till they bleed. I held tighter, rocking gentle scent of her hair. Snow damp and jasmine grounding. Then let me mend. No poking. We sank to rug amid scattered tinsel glinting like stars. Her in lap strokes soothing spine's tense line. Passion followed, inevitable as solstice. Her rising fierce, pushing me down. Skirt rucked up as she straddled, grinding urgent, heat searing through layers. Buttons popped, shirt gaping, her mouth latching to breast. Suckling hard enough to bruise, pleasure pain blooming. I gasped, hands cupping her ass. Guiding rhythm frantic, friction building to blaze. Love you, she panted, first utterance raw as peeled wire, eyes locked fierce. Release crashed mutual, bodies seizing in white-hot waves. Cries harmonizing with wind's wail. Leaving us limp, tangled in pine needles prickling skin. Christmas morn dawned pristine. Sun gilding snowfields endless. We exchanged gifts wrapped humble. Her a locket with my photo tucked inside, silver cool on chain. Me a journal bound leather, pages blank for our shared script. But Ray's specter clung. His truck idling past window that afternoon. Engine growl low threat. Leora noticed, paling, hand squeezing mine white-knuckled. He won't stop, she murmured, voice threadbare. I pulled her close, kiss fierce vow. Neither will we. New Year crept, resolutions whispered over champagne fizzing tart. Hers to embrace the living. Mine to write our epic. Fireworks popped distant, echoes of hope, but under bed's warmth, as she slept curled small. I lay wakeful, Ray's shadow elongating, portending fracture. January bit harder, blizzards burying roads, confining us to hearth's glow. Idle deepened, lazy mornings abed, her tongue lazy between thighs, drawing sighs long as winter nights, release slow unfurl like dawn. But isolation bred paranoia. His notes slipped under door. Talk, Lee. For old times. Creased paper smelling of diesel. I burned them in sink, flames crackle acrid, but embers lingered in her eyes, doubts glow. The ultimatum dropped mid-blizzard, power flickering candlelit, stew bubbling forgotten on stove. Ray pounded door, voice booming through wood. Open up, Lee. We need to settle this. Leora froze, spoon clattering tinny, face ashen as fresh snow. I barred the way, heart slamming cage, but she waved me back, opening crack, wind howling intruder. What, Ray? Weariness lace bite. He pushed in, snow-caked boots tracking melt, eyes wild under cap's brim. You choose her fine. But town's talking, your friends sniffing for scandal. Hail name's gold. Don't tarnish it. Venom dripped, gaze flicking me disgust. Fury surged, words spilling hot. Scandal? Like your wandering dick years back. He lunged verbal, but Leora shoved between, voice thunder. Out. Or I call sheriff. Standoff stretched, breaths visible dragons. Then he retreated. Curse muttered low, door banging seal. She crumpled after, to floor slick with melt, sobs racking frame. I knelt, cradling, rocking as storm raged outside, her confessions pouring. He'll ruin us. Expose the locks, the rituals, make me monster. Hush sounds, shrill love, my lips to hair but fear coiled serpent in gut. That night love making desperate. Bodies slamming urgent. Nails raking red trails. Climaxes edged pain chasing oblivion. Dawn broke gray, resolve hardening. We'd fight but shadows gathered, eclipse nigh. February's thaw came grudging. Mud sucking at tires like reluctant farewell. Turning drives to Leora's a slalom through ruts that jarred bones. Town thawed too, gossip bubbling warmer than sap in maples. Eyes lingering at market, where I'd stock apples crisp and cider's spice. Cash registers ding underscoring murmurs. That Vasquez gal's got hail twisted round her finger. I'd smile tight, gripping bag's handles till plastic bit palms, but inside resolve steeled, a blade honed on raised barbs. Leora withdrew subtler, smiles dimming at services, hands lingering too long on forms, as if anchoring to the still. Our anchor held in private nights where she'd draw bathwater steaming rose-scented, bubbles foaming thick, pulling me in back to chest, her legs bracketing mine, fingers soaping slow circles on belly that dipped lower, teasing folds till water sloshed waves, moans echoing tile like please. You're my resurrection, she'd whisper, breath hot on ear, nipping lobe as thumb pressed insistent, release rippling surface tension, leaving us pruned and boneless, towels rough on flushed skin. But Ray orchestrated, puppeteer from afar. Anonymous tips to my editor, tales twisted of unhinged morticians' kinky games, forcing calls where voice strained casual. Elena, this hail story, it's hot but verify sources. Town's buzzing. I'd hang up, phone clattering counter, stomach churning bile, confronting Leora over dinner's roast chicken, juices popping fat in pan. It's him, I'd accuse, fork stabbing potato mash. She'd nod, eyes downcast on peas green gleam, admission quiet. He knows too much. Our nights the locks, framed wrong, it's cage, not consent. Rage boiled, spilling in tirade, words lashing like sleet. Let me expose him. Front page. Deadbeat ex stalks widow. But she hushed, palm to mouth, taste of gravy salt on lips. No. Draws fire to parlor. Dad's legacy, Hale and Sons since 42. Her voice cracked. Legacy's weight bowing shoulders and guilt twisted my knife, pulling her into lap, chair scraping linoleum. Then we weather, I vowed, kissing temples damp, hands kneading knots in neck. Storm broke proper on Valentine's, heart-shaped irony. I'd planned escape. Cabin rental upstate, wood smoke promise away from prying. Packed hamper. Chocolates melting silk on tongue, wine ruby deep. But Ray intercepted, waiting at parlor steps as I arrived, bouquet wilting and chill, his stance blocking path like fallen log. Romantic getaway? Sneer curled lip, eyes raking hamper's wicker. She deserves real, not play pretend. Blood-thrummed temples, bouquet crushed in fist, petals bruising palm. Real like your fists on her jaw back when? I saw the scar, Ray. Faint but there. His face blanched, then flushed beat. Fist rising half-hearted before dropping, shame flickering brief as struck match. That was one time. Youth's folly. Lie thin as ice, but Leora emerged then. Door creaking, hinge squeal, eyes narrowing blade. Leave, Ray. Or charges stick this time. He backed, muttering curses, snow muffled, truck roaring off gravel spray. Inside she trembled, not cold but quake deep, collapsing to my arms with whale animal raw. He hit me once, Elena. After Sis's funeral, said grief made me cold. Confession tore, pieces jagged, and I held fragments, rocking on foyer rug threadbare, tears hot on her hair. Healing came heated. Upstairs, clothes shed frantic, her pushing me to vanity, mirror fogging breath as mouth claimed breast, teeth grazing nipple to peak, pain pleasure lancing straight core. I gasped, fingers and hair tugging, guiding down till knees hit carpet. Her tongue delving ravenous, lapping broad strokes that bucked hips to edge. More, I begged, voice reedy, and she obliged, fingers joining, curling precise to hit stars, release exploding vision white, cry shattering quiet. She rose, slick-chinned, kissing me share of self, then guiding to bed where I reciprocated, her on back, thighs spread feast, tongue tracing clit slow tease till pleased babbled, climax her arching bowstring, sob release cathartic. Post-bliss, tangled sheets cool on fevered skin. She traced my tattoo, quills ink faded but fierce. Write us safe, she murmured, sleep heavy. I nodded but wakeful plotted, story not of scandal but strength. Lesbian love in the heartland. Mortician's muse defies haters. Draft flowed midnight oil, keys clacking defiant. March budded tentative, crocuses poking mud defiant, mirroring our resurgence. Ray quieted, winter's grip loosening his hold, but scars itched, hers faint on jaw line silver under touch. Mine fresh and Trust's bruise. We hiked woodlit, boots squelching loam, her hand warm in mine, birdsong trilling overhead. Pausing at creek babble, she kissed sudden fierce, backing me to oak bark rough on spine. Here. I laughed, breathless but yielded, her hand slipping glove off into jeans, stroking bold as water rushed. Climax quicksilver, gasped into mouth, her grin wicked after. Nature's confessional. Town shifted subtle, clerk's nod warmer at market, a widow's wink at service where I sat front pew. Hand in Leora's under hymnals wait. Editor greenlit piece. Bold Vasquez hits home. Publication loomed April herald spring, but Ray's silence screamed prelude. Volcano rumble under crust. Eclipse fell mid-month. Full moon blood-tinged, casting parlor in crimson wash. He cornered her solo. I in city for layout proofs, bursting into prep room mid-closure, voice bellow thunder. Your dyke bitches printing lies. She stood firm, scalpel glinting under light, words steel. Truth, Ray. Not yours to twist. Struggle ensued, his grab, her shove, crashed to floor tile cold. Vials shattering glass rain. Chemical sting eye water. She fought, knee to groin, elbow crack jaw, but he pinned, breath hot foul. Mine again. I returned dawn pale, finding her bruised, lips split crimson, cheek swelling purple. Curled on Shay's arms barricade. Rage blinded, scooping her gentle. Carrying bed where ice pack pressed his steam. He tried. She whispered, voice reed thin, tears carving clean paths on grime. Vengeance surged, sheriff call, statement type tear blotted, but she begged wait. Peace first. Bury him public. I agreed, holding vigil. Love's fire banked to embers watchful. April bloomed riot, dogwood's pink froth. Our story hitting stands, headlines bold. Love beyond the grave. A mortician's fight for forever. Town split. Some clucks but more nods, parade float wave from Lesbian's alliance. Ray fled, tail twixt, shop job quit overnight. Victory tasted sweet as lilac, but bruises lingered, tactile reminders. Summer swelter descended humid, cornstalks whispering secrets in breezes heavy with pollen's gold dust, turning Leora's apartment to sauna where fans whirred futile against stick sweat. We'd claimed the porch swing for evenings, chain links creaking lazy as we sipped lemonade tart with lemon's bite. Her head on shoulder, fingers interlaced damp. Scars faded, her jaw smooth now, touch tracing faint line like braille of survival, but echoes hummed in nightmares where doors locked eternal, his growl phantom. Pieces fallout gilded us, invites to pride picnics, where rainbows draped booths hawking glitter buttons, her laugh free under helium balloons bobbing skyward. I dance her slow to fiddle's twang, bodies sway close, sweat mingling salt, whispers hot on neck. My hero. Nipping earlobe till shiver chase spine. Nights post-fest we'd tumble bed, clothes sticky shed, her on top riding wave slow, breasts swaying hypnotic, hands pinned overhead by mine, climax mutual cresting sigh sweet. But grief's tide pulled undercurrents. Anniversary of sisters passing July 4th. Fireworks boom mimicking heart's old rupture. Leora withdrew, prepping a veteran's form with hands tremble faint. Eyes distant as she adjusted metal's gleam. I found her in studio amid flags folded triangle crisp. Voice breaking on him hummed off key. Miss her, she confessed, folding into arms, body rack sob. I held rocking porch glider's rhythm. Fireflies pulsing green envy outside. Tell me, I urged, lips to crown, inhaling shampoo's fade. Story spilled moonlit. Sisters laugh infectious, braiding hair clumsy plaits. Shared secrets in Treehouse Creek. She'd love you. Leora ended, voice husk, fingers clutching shirt wrinkle deep. Feisty scribe. Laughter bubbled, tear salted, and we kissed salt sweet, deepening to hunger. Her guiding hand to thigh, parting legs invitation. Fingers delving cool against heat, strokes building fireworks spark. Release lit inner sky, her name chant on lips as stars burst silent. August harvested heat's peak. Fairs buzzing cotton candy's pink whirl. Ferris wheels groaning sky high. We wandered midway, her in sundress floral swish. Hand sticky caramel in mine. Ray's absence loomed ghost comfort but past clawed back. Letter postmarked his old town, word scrawl angry. You win, Lee. But blood's thicker. Enclosed photo. Her young arm round him smiles sun-blinded. She crumpled it, flame and sink acrid black, but doubt seated, eyes avoiding mine over pie's lattice crust. Confrontation brewed harvest moon. Combines rumble distant thunder. I pressed gentle over wine's merlot blush. He still pulls. She sighed, glass stem twist nervous, admission slow. Threads linger. Family expects. Normalcy. Hurt lanced sharp as thistle, pushing back chair scrape loud. And us? Fringe tale. Voice cracked, betrayal's echo. She reached, desperate, pulling to lap, apologies whispered hot. No. Your core. Kiss sealed, urgent. Tongues battle reconcile, hands roaming reclaim. Dress hiked as she straddled, grinding friction denim hot. Moans porch muffled by night. Bed claimed us after slow worship. My mouth on her, tongue laving slow circles clit. Fingers curling G-spot press, her buck wild release flood tasting victory. Only you, she panted after, body quiver spent, vow etched sweat. Fall gilded leaves fire orange, cooling nights to blanket nest. Parlor bustled funerals leaf peppered. Her grace amid grief a beacon. I shadowed more, assisting quiet, linen fold crisp. Coffee brew strong for families wait. One eve, post-service widows clasp on arm. She saved my boy's dignity. You're good for her. Warmth bloom chest but raised thread tugged. Call from his ma voice quaver. Come home Leora. He's broken, needs you. Refusal polite firm but call lingered. Her pacing kitchen tile click heel. Nails bitten raw. I pulled stop tea chamomile steam soothing. Boundaries love. He's adult mess. Nod reluctant but night brought fever dreams, her thrashing sheet tangle wake cry. Don't leave. Comfort came skin deep, body spoon close, my hand cupping breast, thumb lazy nipple flick till sigh eased. Then turning leg hook thigh, grinding slow build to mutual melt, climaxes soft wave lapping shore. November's chill nipped. Holidays approach stirring old ghosts. We planned escape, city weekend, my old haunts reclaimed couple strong. But Ray escalated, showing unannounced Thanksgiving. Turkey savor soured by his knock insistent. Door opened crack, his face gaunt hollow, eyes pleading. Just talk, Lima's fading. Lies stench diesel thick, but compassion cracked her. Invitation hesitant, table set extra plate clatter nerve. Dinner tense wire, fork tine scrape porcelain, his tails maudlin. Eyes flicking me intruder. I countered stories light. City absurdities laughs forced. Midway he snapped voice rise. This charade? Town knows. Your shaming hails. Knife dropped clink sharp, Leora's face drainish. Love's no shame. Yours was cowardice. Ejection followed, door slam wind whipped but damage seeped, her tears post dishwash suds. Healing heated bath, bubbles pop soft, her back to chest, fingers soaping breasts tender, dipping low to part folds. Strokes gentle coax till moan bubbled water. Ours, I whispered, nipping shoulder, release her shudder ripple mine. Post-soak, bed's flannel cool, we plotted firmer. Restraining order ink fresh, lawyers call crisp. December twinkled resilient, lights strung defiant. Our tree bough heavy memory. Raise ma pass quiet, no call, his silence roar vacuum. New Year toasted bold. To unbreakable us. Glasses clink crystal, kiss deep wine tang. Fireworks boomed but under love rooted deep, weathering seasons. January's frost etched windows fern delicate, confining us to hearth's crackle, where logs popped resin sap, sent pine sharp mingling mulled wines clove warmth. Leora's thaw came gradual, restraining order's paper shield bolstered spine, her laugh returning bright as sun on snowglint. We'd bundle walks, scarves woolwich, mittens clasp warm, pausing benches to kiss snowflake melt on lashes, her tongue chasing mine peppermint breath. Intimacy innovated cold, porch under stars, blankets wool thick, her straddling lap, coats tent privacy, hands delving glove shed to stroke mutual heat, friction wool rough heightening slide, climaxes gas cloud white, dissolving to giggles frostbitten noses rub. But past's vine strangled spring. Ray violated order, lurking lot's edge, truck shadow long at dusk. Sheriff hauled him, cuffs click cold, his glare venom over shoulder. You'll regret Lee. Court loomed April but stress carved her, Sleepless toss, sheets twist knot, wake sweats clammy. Comfort layered. Dawn shower steam hot, bodies soap slick press, her back arch wall tile cool. My fingers front delve curl press. Tongue neck nip till release showered away, sobs mix water. Peace sequel penned, shadows of stalking, love's legal line, editors praise gutsy, but town divided, some pew avert at services. Leora endured, hands steady closure, but eyes hollowed, confiding over tea steam curl. Feel exposed. Like bodies I tend, stripped bare. I held mug share, warmth palm seep. Then reclothe in us. Night followed therapy touch. Massage oil slick, my thumbs need thigh knots. Parting to tongue worship slow. Her pleas build crescendo, climax bow shatter. Tears post-release heel salt. February's Valentine surprise. Getaway cabin lakeside. Ice crack shore. Fire roaring alder smoke. We arrived snow-dusted, unpack haste. Hamper cheeses ripe, bread crust crack. Tub clawfoot steamed eucalyptus, her reclined wine flush. My sponge trail suds down cleavage. Dipping navel to part thighs. Fingers join water's lap. Strokes ripple build till moan echolog. Release her grip tub edge white knuckle. Bed loomed fur heaped. Love languid, positions mirror new, her atop reverse back arch moon. My hands hip guide grind. View exquisite undulate. Climax tandem thunder mutual. Post glow whispers future. Adopt? Or rings? Her eyes star wide, nod fervent, planned seed moonlit. March muddied thaw, court date dawn, rain pelt relentless. Wipers slap rhythm nerve. Ray slouch defendant, suit ill hang. Eyes downcast judge gavel. Testimony her steel, dates fears, bruises photo faded. Mind support echo. Terror real. Verdict. Probation tight, community service grind. His exit glare defeated. Victory tasted rain wet kiss outside. Courthouse steps slick, her body sag relief to mine. Spring erupted riot, tulips cup rain, birdsong trill dawn. Parlor bloom too. Weddings mingle funerals, her gown adjust grace rival bridal. We'd steal alcove moments, her pin lapel quick, mouth claim brief but blaze. Hand skirt under tease promise. Home full harvest, kitchen table clear, her bent forward grip edge. My behind thrust strap on slow deep. Moans wood echo release quake floor. Summer solstice circled, fair's return whirl. But Ray's probation chained, sightings rare truck pass. We'd picnic fields, blanket check red. Her head thigh rest, fingers hair comb lazy talk dreams. Gallery? Your sketches life portraits. Enthusiasm lit her. Pencil sketch me hasty, lines capture soul. Fall harvest wove gold combines hum lullaby. Anniversary lock door mark we ritual reclaim. Studio candle flick, her key turn deliberate, but open palm trust. Inside sheets prep table drape, bodies recline silk. Her mouth map slow every inch. Tongue scripture write, my turn reciprocal devour. Climaxes altar offer, tears mingle joy grief. Winters will turn gentle, holidays hearth warm. No ghosts unbidden. New Year dawn, her proposal kneels snow pure. Marry me, Elena. Beyond veils. Ring simple gold band etch vow. Yes sob, tackle snow tumble. Love seal cold burn. The year wheeled full circle, season's tapestry fray repair stronger. Our thread gold vein through warp. Wedding planned intimate, June meadow under oak's ancient sentinel. Guests sparse. Town allies city kin, her sketches framed aisle guide. Dress her lace whisper, mind silk cool cascade. Vows exchanged breeze kissed. In life death beyond, I choose you. Ring slide finger warm. Kiss seal thunder heart. Cheers ripple wildflower meadow. Honeymoon cabin return, lake now thaw sparkle, night's firelit love marathon. Positions poetry, her strap wield expert. Deep thrust gasp illicit. My tongue aftercare lap tender. Climaxes cascade endless. Days hike trail dapple, handhold swing, future sketch verbal. Kids? Foster first. Hearts mend mutual. Return town embrace warm, parlor sign tweak. Hale and Vasquez. Legacy blend ink embalm. Ray faded echo, probation end, town distant. His ma's grave her tend quiet closure bloom. Years layered gentle. Foster son arrive wide eye 8 summers nightmares soothe her lap rock my story bedtime. Daughter follow curls riot. Her sketches capture dimple fleeting. Family wove tight, dinner's chaos laugh. Her hand mine under table anchor. Night's post-tuck love quiet fierce. Body's memory map. Climax's whisper vow renew. A decade dawn, gray thread her temple silver. My laugh line crinkle deep. Studio now gallery hybrid. Walls life portraits mingle repose serene. Visitors gasp awe. Soul capture. Book mine publish. Veils lifted. Love's eternal ink. Bestseller hum tours handclasp hers stage side. One eve porch swing creak familiar. Grandkids now tumble grass dew. Her head shoulder rest sigh content long. Shaking still, she murmurs lips curve wise hand belly trace scar faint. I kiss temple wrinkle soft. Good shake. Resurrections. Stars will overhead, eternal witness. Our story etched heavenward. Meaningful end not closure. But continuum love's lock forever open.